Well, hello, Judith. Judyth Weaver, thank you for joining me today and allowing me to interview you as our leader in the spotlight for the Sensory Awareness Foundation. You are a member of the foundation as well as one of our leaders and a member of the Leaders Guild. And I just want to thank you for being with me today. Where are you joining me from?
I am in British Columbia, Canada, on a fairly remote island called Cortes Island. It's in between Vancouver Island and the mainland. There are a lot of little islands.
Wonderful. And you're putting on and offering an in-person workshop there coming up soon, right?
Well, the middle of August to the end of August, the last half of August. I like doing, well, it's called Nature and Our Nature because it's such lush nature here. And sensory awareness teaches us so much about ourselves. It's a wonderful combination. And the deer come by and really like to watch us.
One of the things that I've learned being new to the practice is that so much of it does connect you to yourself and to others so much more deeply, and even so nature, right? So to be able to kind of slow down in those moments is just something that I've kind of discovered while starting to attend classes. I do think it's important for new people to ask the question, what is sensory awareness and why should I give it a try? So in your own words, for somebody who is brand new to what this may be, what is sensory awareness?
When you ask me that, the first words that pop into my mind is, I also used as a title for one of the first articles I wrote about sensory awareness and my experience with it. And the title was Nothing Special. The sensory awareness is a chance to come back to one's own self. And that's not so easy in this world. So we go to courses to learn how to be more real.
Yes. And there is a playfulness that comes with it, which I found to be really fun. Everybody has their own insights that they gain while practicing or experiencing a class. But one of the things that I've discovered is kind of a rejuvenated playfulness, even just how I approach motherhood or how I approach the moments in my life that I meet. It does kind of feel a little childlike again to be curious and to listen to yourself in different ways, in moments that seem familiar, but to look at them in a different way.
Very, very much so. In fact, Courtney, you have the best teacher, the best sensory awareness teacher or leader in your home, in your child.
Yes.
And I insisted that I taught in graduate schools for over 25 years, and I taught some very, very important things, somatic psychology, different aspects of it. And the required course was a 12-week course in sensory awareness, in being more real, and coming back to oneself. And about 2/3 of the way or 3/4 of the way through, I would find a toddler. And I would bring this little child into the class and put it in the middle of the room and say, there's your leader for today.
Yes.
And, just follow, just respond, just see what's happening. The adults were laid out all around the room fairly quickly. And the little kid was still, because whatever she or he was doing was so natural and so fully embodying. And there was so much to learn.
How did you come to know sensory awareness or discover it? And do you have any particular memories of your first class that you participated in and what that was like?
That's an interesting question. In the 50s. It was before 1960, somewhere maybe 59. I had studied in New York City. I was in New York City. I was an aspiring modern dancer, and I had taken some courses at the New School for Social Research, mostly in Taoism and things like that. And in the catalog, there was a class being given, and the title was Nonverbal Communication. And it was being given by Charlotte Selver. And I thought, nonverbal communication, that's for me. I want to go. And then I checked the schedule, and it interfered with some of my dance classes. So I never went.
Oh.
And years later, after 1968, after coming back from 3 years in Japan, the work was called Sensory Awareness. Back in 59, it wasn't. And I was living in a communal house that was inhabited by San Francisco Zen Center students. And it was right in the middle of San Francisco. And there were 2 or 3 houses in a row. And somebody leaned from one of the other houses into our house in the kitchen and said, hey, Charlotte Selver and Charles Brooks are teaching sensory awareness at the church down the road. Who wants to go? And so I went, and that was my beginning.
You got your chance.
They had finally, they had settled with that name and everything.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, yes, but I had spent half of my time in Japan in a Zen monastery. So I had a lot of experience with sitting still, with feeling my pain, feeling what was happening, moving and everything. And I thought, this is more fun than Zazen necessarily. And in so many ways, it was the same, or the intention or the connection of me to me was the same. And I remember when my Zen master, my wonderful teacher, when I next saw him, I told him about this work that I had found and was very deeply involved in, and how much it was like Zazen. And he listened to me and he nodded and he said something like, yes, and you still have to do Zazen. Oh, shucks, yeah. But and he was right. And he was right.
I absolutely love the movement in sensory awareness classes. It helps me connect more to myself than when I am sitting still.
I think sensory awareness helps us connect with ourselves and anything, movement, stillness, all different kinds of whatever. It's, I mean, even through the classes in sensory awareness, I sort of recognize a lot of what happened to me. So I was in the monastery for 1.5 years, and I learned how to chop wood. I mean, it wasn't just sitting in that place, because it was day and night life,
Right.
living Zazen. So
Right.
for day and night living sensory awareness. That's why I like the long workshop that I give, because you go to sleep, you wake up, you're still feeling. And here at times we do days of total silence, or even half days of not using our eyes. This place is so free and safe, we can do that.
Yes. I'm gonna reflect on that one.
Okay, please do. I'd like to hear you.
I'm gonna reflect on that. I think there's a lot there as far as, the aliveness that comes from stillness, because I tend to think it's always the opposite, right? I'm not necessarily less alive when I'm moving, but I feel more alive when I'm moving. How do you prepare for a class as a leader? How do you approach this work as a leader and presenting it and offering it to others?
When you ask me that, what first comes up is calmly, calm down, be quiet and see what comes. So for me, it's very different. When I'm preparing for that Saturday 1 hour, I just try to be calm and have a sense of, so what's necessary? What feels like it needs to be addressed or approached. Now, when I'm doing a workshop, of course, there's a continuum, same people, there might be a string of things, but something that I noticed some years ago, and it's still what intrigues me when I feel it, especially when I'm in a foreign country, and I have taught in other countries where I have to wait for the translator. So, there's a chance for me to go off unless I really am going to stay here. But this is so interesting. Sometimes I think I know the direction that I'm going, and I think I know the next thing I'm going to say, and I open my mouth and something entirely different comes out. It's like, okay. So
And you just go with it.
Of course.
Yeah, of course.
Something in me, knew better than I did. Yes.
Do you think that leaders can differ in many ways, or and if so, how? Because of course some people really connect very deeply with certain leaders and follow them and really immerse themselves in particular leaders. So how do people differ?
We're all different people. That's no big deal. We're all different, so we all differ. Yes, and absolutely, we need to be true to ourselves. Nobody can be like Charlotte. To trust ourselves is such a big deal, such a big assignment. And the more we can trust ourselves and feel what we feel, then we will feel the next thing and the next thing to say or whatever. And then go on. And when I'm leading a class, I don't have any plans. I mean, maybe it's like, well, maybe we'll, be moving a lot. That's about as specific I get, because for me, it's always who needs what the group is saying to me, which is very frustrating on computers. But I'm always listening. I'm always looking. Some of the leaders have their eyes closed. I can't do that because I'm looking. I'm looking for the next instruction that I get. And the funny thing is, I've been teaching for a large group in China. And when they first asked me, I said, well, so I'll have these these shots of people. And they said, no, they all have just their names, which is in Chinese anyway. And I said, I can't do it. If I can't see people, I don't have anyone to relate to. It's not coming from my head. I don't have an agenda. I have to see, and then I'll know what to do next. So they gave me 1 page, half page really, of people so I could see. And I figured, well, I'll go down into the chat and see what they're saying. First night I taught, I went down into the chat, and of course it was all in Chinese. I couldn't get anything. But even that little bit of person that I see gives me a direction. I don't plan it. I can't. I just couldn't do it.
Are there particular props that you like to use or things that you like to bring to class with you? I know like some leaders do really like to experiment with physical objects or chairs or things like that. How do those kind of things come up as a leader? Is it a preference? Is it just an offering of an experiment? What is that?
I think it's very much a preference. I have never asked people on the Zoom calls to bring anything. When you send out the email saying, is there anything you want people to bring, I always say, just tell them to bring themselves. That's what I want to say. And I figure that might be felt a little sticky, so I should just keep my mouth shut. But that's what, just bring yourself and we'll see what happens. Here, when we have a longer, well, and when I would travel, I wouldn't have very many items, maybe sandbags that we had made, something like that. But the stools and benches and bamboo poles and all various things, I do have some here. I have some of the stools, I have some of the bamboo things, or we go outside and, everybody brings something in, and we do work with objects, but it's not, and that's really important. For 1 hour, my hope, my intention is to help people be more connected to themselves. So for me, an object would be including something extra. I'd rather keep it simple. My breath is, if I could just stay and learn a lot from my breathing, I would consider that a good class. And then, like I say, the longer sessions, there are so many ways to expand that, from the breathing to going outside and feeling the wind. Now there's a great partner to work with, or a tree or whatever.
I find it comforting to hear from leaders, you can't do this wrong, right? Because I'm somebody that wants to show up at class and I know exactly what I'm doing, and I think about what I'm going to say, and I worry about, do I have to share my insights from class, and all of this, like, kind of like what you were talking about as far as trusting yourself and feeling confident in what it is that you're participating in and doing. And I'm hearing the similarity as a leader, like you can't necessarily lead wrong. It's just a way of approaching the work.
So that's interesting. I think as leaders, we can do something that is not so right or not so right on. But as students, as followers, you can't do anything wrong if you're true to yourself. And everyone is different. Everything will be different, and there is no wrong there. But we as leaders, I think, need to be, that's why I keep my eyes open, see what's happening, and
to respond.
Right, yes.
Right. How can we experiment in our daily lives outside of a class? I'm having a
if we're alive, we have to, we better be. So
right?
yeah.
How can you not? I love that.
Well, but and we cannot. It's really hard to be so sensitive with a computer, isn't it? Or whatever.
Yes.
But I would just say that's again why I like the length of day after day. We wake up and everything's the same and everything's different. So where are we? How do we feel? And whatever it is. So I start at times very, very early, and here people stay together too. So it's sort of like a camp, summer camp or something here.
Yeah.
And or just walking down the road, the crunch. I mean, it's all there. It's hard. We have learned to ignore, and that is a great insult to our humanity and what we can do. It's very sad. We are becoming automatons.
Mm-hmm.
And we need sensory awareness and that kind of work, play, sensing, consciousness, even more than ever.
Absolutely. I think we're in a time when we're so connected, more connected than we've ever been as far as technology goes. But in particular, the younger generation, our teenagers, our young adults, they're the most connected, but also the most lonely, it seems, and the least connected. So what would be your advice to a younger generation? How do we get the younger groups of people to be interested in connecting with themselves and the value in that.
You know, I think all children are naturally interested. There are so many distractions that we have created to take them away. So to back for, how old is your older son?
So my son is 13. He's going into high school next year.
During the summer, I would play some games with him. For instance, like say, well, let's have a day of not speaking. You can, communicate anything you want, but just not with words.
Yeah.
Or a half day. I mean, and this is what I give some of my students at times, especially online homework. So walk around your house, you know it really, really well with your eyes closed.
My son would really enjoy that, I think. And I think that speaks to the importance of why I'm interested in sensory awareness as a practice, because you have to pull children along with you in life and not push them to do the things that you want them to do. So to model those things and have those things, if I don't want him on his phone, I need to put my phone down and I need to do something else. So he's noticed a difference in how I kind of explore the world a little bit. I can tell, and the differences that he notices in me. But I love that suggestion of having him kind of setting him up for some experimentation and things that aren't distracting, but to walk around the house the best you can with your eyes closed, and
or brushing your teeth and washing your face and everything with your eyes closed. So you'll really have to feel more or something, but just a little change can jiggle, our knowing and how we know and what we think we know. And there are so many, many ways.
Right.
So communicate all day, without using your words. Gobs of ways to do that. Have dinner and everybody have their eyes closed. I mean, there's a lot of laughing to this, but you said there's still more laughing.
Yeah.
Does the food taste different?
That's fun.
Or lay out your clothes the night before, so you know what you're going to wear, and then keep your eyes closed and put them on.
Okay.
Or ask her baby, she'll tell you what to do.
I worry about the kids, because especially as they get a little bit older, they're still discovering who they are, but like you said, they're so distracted by so many different things, a lot of screens, of course, and technology and stuff like that, how do they navigate even knowing what they do actually feel or think about anything? And I think we all have something to learn from that as well. To really slow the pace of our lives. And I think a lot of moments get missed. Get missed, and the simplicity in which you can live can bring so much gratitude.
And it doesn't even have to be slow. As you're talking, I'm remembering years ago at the graduate school in San Francisco, it was the first day of classes, and people get to, test the first day. And so I thought I would do something very, very simple. There was a large group of people sitting around, and I just had us all close our eyes and explore a face for however long it was. And basically that was the class, and at the end of the first class, a man came up to me and said, "That was too intimate. I'm not going to take this class."
Too intimate.
Touching his own face was too intimate for him. He probably touches his own face every day. He must shave or things, but he doesn't pay attention. He didn't feel.
Do you think it's important for people to share their insights like that?
No.
I don't personally always share, feel like I want to share. Sometimes I journal, write it down. But do you think you're saying no, it's not always important to take a closer look at or reflect on insights after class, or what do you?
Well, you can still reflect on it if you want to speak up. Some people are speakers and some people are not. I don't think there are some people who never speak and others who speak all the time. Now, it would be nice to change that for a day and just see what happens with that. But no, I think people speak when they feel ready. And a lot of people, especially in this world, with all the machines speaking to us, I think a lot of people would not feel at ease or ready to speak right away.
I agree.
It's how do we know ourselves, what's right for us? And to not get stuck on it, because what's right for me today may be not the right thing for tomorrow. So
I'm still learning that one.
yeah.
I'm still learning that one. What's right for me today isn't necessarily right for me tomorrow. I like that. Okay. I have one final question for you today. What I want to know is, what do you wonder about?
What do I wonder? I wonder about a lot of things. I wonder about the whole world and what's happening in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just to, and I thought of that question because it seems like something that, when do we learn how to wonder?
We don't, well, ask your daughter.
So I'm curious, as people live their lives, like, when do we stop wondering, or do we ask ourselves that?
Unfortunately, we stop wondering because we think we know it all or a lot. But give your daughter a something that she hasn't seen before and watch her wonder and respond. Because wondering is one thing, that's the passive, but how do you respond? She's going to eat, take a bite, lick it, what, drop,
Throw it.
Right. So what does it do? All these possibilities. I'm sure she's a great teacher. And while you're talking, there's something else I want to really bring up, because we've talked about such nice things and how beautiful it is here. I've also, well, when I taught at the graduate school, at times it was in one of the most gnarly skid row parts of San Francisco. I would still take my students out on the street, and we would always be silent exploring, but at times we also explored the grungy places with our eyes closed too, or in many different ways. So it's not just beauty. I mean, everything is beautiful. It's whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Have to be just wonderful. It just has to be, and we have to be.
That's a wonderful reminder. I agree. Thank you so much, Judyth.
Thank you so much, Courtney. You have interesting questions. Thanks for your responses back and forth. It's really been an interesting and a pleasure.
Thank you so much.